Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy, I don't know what day is it? Wednesday? I don't remember. I think it's Wednesday. It's definitely not Sunday, and it's definitely not Friday. It's somewhere in between those 2 days. So happy middle of the week. It's Wednesday. Thank you, Andy. What would I do without Andy? I'm telling you, shout out to our great producer of the show, Andy Boltax. So, first of all, thank you, everybody, for the emails and the notes after yesterday's show. For those who are joining us for the first time now, welcome. For those that are coming back, thank you so much. Yesterday we spoke a lot about this idea of deliberate practice and of rituals and how to make one by looking through the vision, by getting a real vision in. Remember, a real vision is not like a general feeling like I got to go somewhere. That's a feeling. A real vision is being able to see something very clearly into the future. That's what real vision is. It's seeing something that's clear. It didn't happen yet, but it's still clear. And it could be wrong. Fine. But it's still clear. You can make a decision halfway through to make a left or a right and not go to the final vision. Or as you get down the road, now you've got a much clearer sense of what you really want. So when you were younger, when I mean younger, I mean like a year ago, maybe you wanted to go here. And as you started doing it, you're like, I don't really want to do that. I had that's like half my life. The dreams that I had when I was in my 20s aren't in my 40s. The things that I thought for sure I wanted to do by the time I was whatever. As you go on through life, you realize that there are things that are so much more important. Fine. That's totally acceptable. It's that we don't take it to that next level when we have dreams, when we have visions to clarify it. So we don't really know how to get there. We sort of have a general sense, but general senses don't take us anywhere. And when you create this clarity of vision, this clearness, then and only then are you able to pull back and go, okay, what can I do today that will help me down that road? What can I change my brain with that will get me to not only reach the vision, but to become the vision? Right? That's really what growth is. Growth is when you don't reach anything. There's nothing to reach. It's who you become. This is very much connected to the holiday that is upcoming in the Jewish calendar called Shavuos, where the name of the holiday, which represents the top of the mountain where we meet God, is called the weeks, which doesn't make sense. It's like, imagine calling the Super Bowl the season. It's because you never reach anything in life. You become the thing that you want to be. That thing that you're seeing is not, you can never touch it. You can never touch being a great spouse or child. You can't even touch, believe it or not, the book that you're writing. It's really a manifestation of who you are. So when you see it and you start doing things every day, you put it into your brains through neuroplasticity, go back to earlier shows for review. And then as a result, you just become closer to that vision. So when you wake up, it's not like you have to go out and capture something. It's who you are. And when you do something, the thing you're doing really is a manifestation of who you are, what you've changed, which is this concept of be, do, have, which we'll talk about another time. I don't know if we've talked about it before. And so for those who are joining us now, yesterday, for those who wanted, if you emailed me at charlie@charlierr.com, I sent you the workbook that we did, and I sent you a little bit of an excerpt from one of the chapters from the book, just to give you a little bit more. And what was great is that people were asking such good questions. And really I would say the primary question that came through from the different notes and emails yesterday was, I can't seem to do it. Like I've tried, and I can't seem to do it. Like there's this sense of, I've heard this before, and it hasn't been working. I don't know if I am as disciplined if I can. I don't know if I have, we've all self-diagnosed ourselves with ADD, right? So anyone who just can't sit's got ADD. So especially now with the whole world coming at us, every second being stimulated with something, we ask ourselves, maybe I can't. Maybe this thing isn't for me. Maybe I just can't do this. And I want to address it. I want to talk about the blocks. There's two major blocks to implementing change, right? Where we are right now is in a path of implementing change. There's a lot more to discuss about life, about perspective, about happiness. We got a lot more to talk about with God's help, but where we are right now in our journey together, and if you're coming for the first time, don't go anywhere. We'll review everything, because everything is interconnected with everything else. But where we are right now is in this world of change. And change requires to see something and do something, right? Clouds and rocks. Seeing over the clouds, seeing over the hills, and navigating those rocks. That's how you change things. But there are blocks along the way to that change. And there are two major blocks that will get in our way. The first block is internal motivation. Now, external motivation is a great thing, and we have to always stay motivated. You can't really get through things that are difficult if you don't have a certain level of motivation to do so. If it doesn't matter, you won't do it, right? If you look at people that have accomplished things, usually it's because it mattered to them. And you see that kid who's like laying on the couch, not studying, and mom and dad is like, can you do your homework? You have a test coming up. And the kid's looking at his parents, and to his parents, they understand that the grade on that test matters, because they're pulling back and saying, if you want to get into this college, you want to do this with your life, they're seeing that the math matters. The difference between the mom and the kid isn't the work. And then mom goes, how come when it comes to playing ball, you'll go out and play with your friends all day, but when it comes to doing your homework, you won't do it? How come you're sitting there and you're figuring out the stats of every single quarterback in the NFC, but when it comes to figuring out your math, you don't want to do it? And the kid's looking at mom going, because it doesn't matter. I don't know what you're talking about. It's math. It doesn't matter. That's just what teachers do. In my little brain, football matters. For us to go somewhere in life, for us to do something in life, it has to matter. Which means if I don't do it, it's going to be a problem. I'm going to be disappointed. When you're living your life and you're surviving and things are good, great doesn't really matter. It would be nice. It's a preference. I'd rather be great than good. But once you become good at something, greatness doesn't really matter enough to fight the discomfort you'll need to accomplish it. Which is why, as Jim Collins says, good is the enemy of great. Good is not on the path to great. Good is the enemy of great. Why? Because once you rest in good, you stop fighting for great. If I'm good enough, if I stay employed, if I stay married, if my kids still talk to me, if I don't get zapped by God, if I'm good enough, I get through my day, things are fine. In that particular area that I am good, I have now a block to greatness. One guy once told me, he was an entrepreneur. He said to me that he was working in a company. I think it was a law firm. I don't remember. But it was like a big company that paid him a lot of money. And he said they were going through a restructuring and they fired him. And he said years later, it was the greatest thing they did for him because he never would have left. He calls this golden handcuffs. He never would have left because it was good. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't exactly what he wanted to do. He was much more of an entrepreneur than he was a lawyer, but he ended up in law school and he ended up there, and it was good that he was there, and they paid him enough money to live a good life. And he wouldn't be able to leave that. And when the firm restructured and got rid of him, he was stuck. And he had nothing. So he had to rely on what he was really great at. And he built a very successful company. Because good hangs out over us all the time. We have to identify that and understand that it doesn't really matter to be great if we're okay with good. When you look at people that have accomplished a lot, they're not more talented than any of us. They just have this thing for not achieving greatness in things. And it's not in everything, it's just in a few things. They just have this thing for settling, for allowing things to just be good enough. When you set your vision, if your vision isn't crystal clear, and it's not just about clarity, it's more than that. It has to be exciting. If you have your ideal day in a year from now, and you don't say when you're done with that exercise that would be incredible. Yeah, I want that. No, I want that. That's what I want. I really want that. Like, I really want that. Your ideal day should be ideal. It should be so ideal that it's realistic, but it's incredible. I want this for relationships. I want this for life. I want this. Now, you'll tell a lot about yourself as to what's in your ideal day, right? And without judgment, some people's ideal day is they're working all day and making lots of money. And some people's ideal day is they're working, but they're also with their family. Some people's ideal day is they've got a connection to God. Everyone's got their ideal moment. And by the way, it's not just, and I'm specific. I'm not telling you to do an ideal week. Just pick a day. It doesn't have to be you do everything in that day. It could be that you just do one thing in that day. But if it's not going to be really incredible, if you're not going to get really excited about it and really think this is possible, if you can't taste the Lombardi trophy, you're not going to play for the Super Bowl. That's why in every single locker room, great teams have pictures of champions everywhere. That's why when you look at a team that walks into a locker room, everything around them is championships because they have to see it. They have to taste it. They have to know what they're fighting for, because when it gets hard, and it always gets hard, if they don't have that vision of greatness in their minds, then it's not really going to matter. It doesn't really matter how healthy I am, because I'm fine. I'm fine. I had a friend of mine who was trying to quit smoking. And he's hard at work. And then somebody told him that, like, it's a guy who's 100 years old and he smokes a pack a day and he's fine. And like the whole thing just it's just that person upended the apple cart, because he was fighting for his future. He was fighting, his wife, after so many years, was like, showed him videos of people that were chain smokers and what it did to their health and how it caused cancer and how they didn't see their own grandkids get, and he was so scared. And then all of a sudden, like, it was like, oh, okay. There are people that live that way too. That's okay. And the whole vision collapsed. If we're not going to get excited about greatness, we're not going to fight. We're not going to fight for it. Because change is hard. It's exciting, but it's hard. And a lot of us just don't want to be uncomfortable, me included. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We want to be okay. We want to just be comfortable. We want someone to pat us on the back and say, you're doing just fine. And that need to just be okay, that feeling of good, is so enticing. Sleep and lack of conflict and allowing myself to say yes at what I want, including the things that I want to say whenever I want to say them. Distraction. It's so enticing. It's so much more enticing than we think. It's so much more enticing than we think. Distraction is so much more enticing than we think. There are people who are brilliant people whose entire jobs it is to get you distracted. You're up against an industry of billions of dollars. And it's all good. Like, I'm all for it. Like, everyone could do what they want to do. I'm not suggesting we should shut them down. I'm just articulating that when you've got an industry of people trying to sell you something, including things to watch, not just selling you beauty products, they're selling you TV shows. The thought, the analysis, the time and attention that goes into how do I keep their attention? How do I keep them attention? How do I turn their attention to me? How do I get their attention to me? Distraction is so much harder than I think we even anticipate. That for us to block that out even a little bit, for us to take the proactive approach into our minds, for us to really fight for a great life, we have to want it more than just like, I hope I get it, it'd be nice. We have to really want it. We have to desire it. We have to say to ourselves, if I don't get that, I'm really going to be upset. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be another year of my life, and I haven't fixed this part of my life. It's another year of my life, and I haven't achieved this next level of what I want to achieve. I got one life. And there's time to distract myself. And there's time for sleep, and there's time for rest, and there's time for all that stuff. But if I don't have this big goal that excites me more than the things that are around me that are chirping in my ears, I'm not going to fight for it. Because it's hard to be great. It's great. It's great to be great. It's worth the fight. But it's hard. There's a rule that I saw said in the name of the Navy SEALs. I think I saw this from a guy named David Goggins. Andy will look him up and see if it's who he is. David Goggins, I think his name is. This is a guy who's like an incredible story of a Navy SEAL and a real story of human will. So he spoke about this concept called the 40% rule. And the 40% rule is that in the SEALs, they teach you that when you are about to give up, like when you have nothing left, when you're running, you're like, I'm out. You've only hit 40% of your capacity. Think about that. That when your brain says time to give up, here it is, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind to Defy Odds. I love it. When your brain says time to give up, really, your body has 60% more gas in the tank. And the reason we know why, because we've been talking about it earlier on in the show, that our brain is built to make us survive. So you survive by protecting yourself. You don't survive by pushing yourself to the limit. Greatness is a choice. Greatness isn't the override. Greatness is the 2.0 version of who you are. So you have to override the system, because the system that you have is there to keep you alive. But you have much more room to play with that. 40% is okay. If you're achieving 40%, your body's going, we're over. You got plenty in your tank. Survival, check. But if you're in the game of greatness, you want to push it. You want to get a little more on that. You want to grow to a place in which your threshold enables you to tap more of your potential. It's not about surviving, it's about thriving. And this 40% rule is that most of the things we want to do in life is going to be hard, but we have it in us. But we just got to override the system. And the way you override a system is you give it something better. The way you override your system is you look at good and you start to visualize great. You start to let great get into your system. You start to fill your mind with great, with what you could be, with what that vision looks like. And when you do that, what happens is it gives you the inner motivation to push past the uncomfortable. If you think you can't do this ritual stuff, it's because we're allowing ourselves to stop at 40%, and it's because our visions aren't exciting enough. If you're done with your vision and you're not pumped, you didn't do it well. It has to be so exciting that you'll fight for it. You'll stay up late for it. You'll skip a meal for it. Because that's what life's about. It's pushing past the 40% to accomplish the things that we know that we should be accomplishing. Okay, we'll continue this. If you haven't emailed me yet, please do. Thanks so much for listening to the show. And we look forward, with God's help, to seeing you again tomorrow. Thanks so much. Have a great day.